The views expressed on this program are not those of intellectualradio.com, its subsidiaries, or sponsors. Encouraging, educating, and empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It is Money Making Monday, and our topic for today is home buyers' mistakes to avoid. We are live on Intellectual Radio. We just heard from the Drive at 5 with Roman. Keep it locked right here on Intellectual Radio and allow us to feed your brain. On the last episode of Warriors Talk, I spoke with Dr. Michelle, who gave us her perspective on combating vaccines misinformation. If you missed that episode, go over to YouTube, type in Intellectual Radio, and stay connected for any episodes you may have missed. The quote of the day is, "Remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck." We are grateful for our sponsors. We have Gloria Dotson with Mary Kay, who is catering to all of your beauty needs from head to toe. And then we have MyLeah Simone with affordable book editing services without skimping out on quality. We also have Allstate with Paula Kelly, who is catering to all of your insurance needs in one place. And then we have Pastor Michael Richardson with the Emanuel C.O.G.I.C, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson. And we are from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
Make sure you check them out every Sunday morning at 10:15 for your spiritual food. Here are your trending topics for today. As the number of COVID-19 cases surges in the United States, more than 50 healthcare groups, including the American Medical Association, the American College of Physicians, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American Public Health Association, issued a joint statement calling for all healthcare and long-term care employers to mandate employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19. This is a logical fulfillment of the ethical commitment of all healthcare workers to put patients as well as residents of long-term care facilities first and take all necessary steps to ensure their health and well-being. Those are your trending topics for today. Owning your first home can be an exciting time. However, if you're not careful, it can be overwhelming as well. First-time home buyers may not know where to begin in the home buying process. However, if they start the research process early on, they can learn which mistakes to avoid. In doing so, your research is important to be thorough and understand the process while enjoying all milestones. After all, you only become a first-time home buyer once. My special guest is a Milwaukee native who has transformed her education and career around real estate. She is a real estate broker in 4 states, which includes Wisconsin, Georgia, Florida, and Illinois. She is a real estate instructor, a real estate investor, coach, mentor, trainer, keynote speaker, author, and a new real estate developer, and much, much more. Help me welcome, excuse me, back to Warriors Talk, Tamairo Moutry. Welcome, Tamairo.
Hello, hello. It is so great to be back again, as always. And you know that I'll be here for you and everybody else who needs this education. Because what I can say is not enough of this goes around. And there's so much misinformation that goes on out there about the home buying process. And I try to do things on Tuesdays that are trivia Tuesdays to talk to people about real estate and giving them questions for them to kind of ponder and think about, because a lot of people, they just don't know. A lot of people are being told that they need a 720 credit score with 20% down. That's not at all true. There are many, many different things that people don't know about this process. And today we're going to be talking about a lot of the don'ts. We can talk about do's, but we need to talk about the pitfalls. So again, I want you to be empowered. I hope everybody has a pen and paper. This will also apply to any real estate investors that may be on the call today, as well as first timers, second timers, or anyone looking to purchase, because all of these things play a part in you learning this home buyer process about things you should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, I think it's important to get that education, especially for something like this, where you're going to be spending a lot of money. And for some of us, it's going to be an investment of a lifetime. So you should want to get all of the information you can regarding the home buying process. So don't be shy. If you have any questions or any comments that you want her to hear or to answer, make sure you do put them in the comments, and like and share the show. Invite someone else in on the show that you feel may benefit from this valuable information. So Tamairo, I just want to jump in there. Again, we're talking about home buyers' mistakes to avoid. And I have about 15 of them that we can avoid. So the first one talks about not figuring out how much house that you can afford.
Wow. Well, that's a good one. A lot of people, well, here's the old adage that people don't even think about when you say it. And I never did really think about this either, but you don't know what you don't know. And I know that sounds funny, but you don't know what you don't know. So a lot of people think that the process gets started by you just looking at homes and saying, okay, I want to go and view this home. But you can't know how much you can afford by not actually going and getting pre-approved or even seeing if you're eligible to even get a loan. And you need to be making sure that you follow whatever protocol that your lender is requiring you to do. And at first, I used to always say the first step to trying to buy a home is for you to go to a lender. But perhaps you might not know which lender to go to be able to do this. So the first step would actually be, if you're working with a real estate professional, maybe they have a preferred lender that they use. But you have a debt ratio that the lender looks at to make sure that you can afford this home. And of course, only you know what your bills are. So it's very important that you make sure you don't bite off more than you can chew. I mean, yes, you're paying rent, but when you become a homeowner, there's a lot more things that come into play. So it's very important that even if you say you get a pre-approval letter for, let's say, $250, if you know you don't want to go over $1,250 a month with everything included, then you need to make sure that your real estate professional is only shopping for homes in that price range. That's with everything included, with your escrows, your impounds, and that is your taxes, your insurance, your private mortgage insurance if you're getting an FHA loan. And with that being said, again, you need to make sure that this is something that you'll be able to afford. You cannot shoot in the dark. Okay. You need to make sure you know what you can actually afford when you get out there.
Razal said, who is also my co-host on the show, he says, thank you so much. Educate us, please. This information is important. MyLeah said, any advice on buying a manufactured home or houses?
That is going to be tricky. Most lenders don't like the manufactured homes. A lot of people buy those homes with cash, but there are some lenders that will entertain it. So that will be research that you need to do in your area to see if you can find a lender that will entertain doing a loan for a manufactured home. It's not a bad idea to do it. Some people like a manufactured home better for many different reasons. I don't say run from it. I say learn as much as you can about it and make sure there's a lender in your area that offers that service.
Awesome. It says, without knowing how much house you can afford, you might waste time. You may end up looking at houses that you can't afford yet or visiting homes that are below your optimum price level. All right. So the second one is getting just one rate or quote. And I know you always talk about this one.
Yes. So what normally happens during this process, and I tell all of my clients this is really important, not just for first timers, but for anybody trying to do anything. This goes for any HELOCs, which is a home equity line of credit. More on that later, maybe on another date. But that goes for refinances, for purchases, for anything. You need to at least, it's just like you're shopping at a store and you're trying to get something on a clearance rack. You want to go and see which lender is going to get you the best deal. And people always talk about, well, oh, if I keep shopping around, my credit score is going to go down for all these hits. Well, that's not true. They recognize rate shopping. So if you do it within 14 to 45 days, if you stay within that window, it's supposed to only count as one hit. But when you have a bunch of different industries pulling, then that's when the credit scores can go down as a result of that. You should always try to choose at least 3 different lenders. You need to find out what all they are offering, what kind of programs they're offering, what kind of interest rates they're offering, down payment, and in some cases, they may have a down payment assistance program that you may be able to qualify for. Some lenders offer them, some lenders don't. But that's the reason for your rate shopping. Use 3 different lenders. From one lender to the next, I'm going to be totally honest. One lender may ask for a lot of different things that the next lender may not ask for. That's another reason for you trying to do your rate shopping and getting rate quotes, because somebody might say you need 12 months of bank statements and the next lender might say you only need 3. So it is great for you to try to shop around and see which lender is going to work with you best. And the interest rate that is lower is not always the best for you. It just depends on what your particular situation is. And again, what your situation is as a borrower, because you may be self-employed and you may not even be able to do a regular program. They may have to use what's called an Alt-A program, which is an alternative program, or non-QM, which is a non-qualifying mortgage. And lenders will be able to discuss all of this with you, especially if you have extenuating circumstances and you're self-employed.
I told y'all she was going to bring the information. Oh my goodness. I hope y'all writing this stuff down. It's a lot of information when you're trying to get a house. It's not just a quick process. I think a lot of people want the process to go so quick, but you need to take your time and figure out exactly what you're getting yourself into, especially if you're doing this, long term. Even if you're not doing it long term, you should know what you're getting yourself into. It should not be a quick process. Okay, it says shopping for a mortgage is like shopping for a car or any other expensive item. It pays to compare the offers, just like she said. All right, so number 3 is not checking the errors on your credit report. Like, we just don't think that when they run our credit report, they're going to find some stuff. So we just don't even try to correct it.
Wow. And even with that being said, to piggyback off of that, A lot of people get so excited once they get their scores ran and then they get their pre-approval letter. A lot of people start to let things go. I've seen many people get their credit ran. They're in the program. They get their pre-approval. They're excited. And all of a sudden, they stop paying their bills. And they end up with a 30-day late in the middle of the process, which will knock their scores down significantly and end up not even qualifying anymore. So to piggyback off of the credit, you know, there are certain things that you should be trying to check and make sure of before you even get to the lender. Remember that medical bills, they may as well not count unless it's a judgment. Leave those medical bills alone. Focus on any errors that you see for any old debts that have been there for too long. Watch your statute of limitations. Watch your statute of limitations in your state. There are many states with all of the different statutes of limitations that allow you to be able to get things removed off your credit if you're not paying attention. Listen, the credit bureau's job is not to keep your credit scores intact. They get paid to report information. They don't get paid to keep your credit straight. That's your job. You are supposed to be making sure that those errors are taken care of. And it's not their job to keep up with it. It's your job to keep up with it. So with that being said, I've said this on other occasions, you need to be reaching out to the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. People think the old school way is to write in and keep sending rounds of letters. I'm not saying that's wrong. It takes longer. It's a longer process, but there are ways from these different sites that allow you to be able to dispute things right online. And CFPB is one of those ways. And they normally respond back in 15 days or less. I've had clients that they got their responses within a couple of hours because the CFPB is the government. People are scared of the government. If the CFPB reaches out to one of these places, oh, they are on it more than quickly. But you got to know how to fight back as well.
You got to know how to fight back. All right. Hey, Brenda, thank you for tuning in. It says mortgage lenders will scrutinize your credit report when deciding whether to approve a loan or what interest rate you'll get. If your credit report contains errors, you might get a quote or interest rate that is higher than what you deserve. So it's important. Brenda says, thank you so much for the for the CFBP. I never can get it right. Okay.
Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB. Get online and dispute. CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
All right. Awesome. So Brenda said, thank you for that. So she, this is some information that you can use. Like we said, there are different ways to dispute things on your credit. This is one way to do it. It's almost like going right to the source. So, all right, we made it to number 4. Number 4 is making a down payment that is too small. We're talking about the home buyer's mistakes that we can actually avoid. So number 4 is making a down payment that is too small.
Okay. So we all know that there are programs out there to help first-time home buyers. And of course, one is extremely familiar to the majority of our first-timers, which is the FHA loan program. With the FHA loan program, you are able to put a minimum of 3.5% down. But just because they say put down 3.5%, because that's what it allows, does not mean that that might be the only way to do things. One reason why you might want to put down more is because you end up with more equity in your home, the more money that you put down. And I realize that not a lot of us are in a position for us to be able to put down more than 3.5%, but it does make you look like a more stronger buyer to the lender. If you were the lender, think about this. If you had a buyer that could put down 5% or 10% versus a 3.5% down payment, who would you choose? A lot of these sellers, remember, once the offer comes in, these sellers look at the strength of the buyer too. And they always talk about the highest and best offer. Remember, what's the highest offer might not always be the best. You could be an FHA buyer, but maybe you have 10% to put down. And maybe your offer stands out because you have a quicker closing than maybe a conventional buyer that could only put down 5%. And the FHA buyer puts down 10. So there's a reason why you might want to put down more to be looked upon as a more stable and stronger buyer, to have more equity in your home, and to also help your payment be less. Sometimes it doesn't make that big of a difference, and you will have to gauge and look, and you can talk to your lender about giving you the numbers. And if the numbers don't make much difference and you're able to put down 3.5 versus 5, and it totally works for you, and it's still in your error, you have a margin of error, and there's an area where you say, hey, this is a number that I'm willing to work with, and if I have to put down 5%, it better be worth me putting down 5%. So that's where I'm at, is making sure that you know if it's going to make a big enough difference or not. With that being said,
it's a competitive market out here, especially right now. As soon as the houses go on the market, they are gone, even though, and I feel like the prices have shot up, but it's not stopping people from buying. Because I'm telling you, as soon as it goes on the market, it's so competitive, it's gone. So communicate with the person that you're working with so that all of the things that you should be looking for when you're presenting an offer. Like she said, some people want to say, oh, let's put the most money out there and see if they're going to take it. Well, you may have sellers out there that's not only looking at the money when it comes to who they're selling the house to. So don't just think that because you put the highest bid out there that they're going to always go with that. And I think that's why people do that. They like, let's offer this, because they think people are money hungry and they'll go for it. But, everybody is not strategic in that way. They may be looking for something different from the actual buyer. So be a strategic buyer. Mm-hmm. Okay, hold on. I want to make sure I put this information up here, because some people may be just tuning in and did not get the information. Tamairo gave us the information about the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And I gave you the website for you to go on. And this is if you have any issues or errors on your credit report, you can get in contact with them. So I would encourage you to use that, especially if you're trying to get on the path to home ownership. All right, so that was number 4. So number 5 is not looking for the first-time home buyers programs. A lot of times we don't. A lot of times we don't even know that, they're out there or that we even qualify.
And that's true. One of the problems that I see mostly with everybody is that they don't do enough research. And don't get me wrong, I know that us as real estate professionals, we should be able to try to help you as much as possible. But you've got to empower yourself. Just like we used to say, let your fingers do the walking with the yellow and white pages. Let your fingers do the walking with getting online and start searching for these programs in your area, in your state, for the programs that you could possibly fit into. And the only reason why I'm not going to blurt out a bunch of them, only because I'm not sure who my listeners are, but you need to be empowered yourself. Find out what the first-time homebuyer programs are. Find out what they're offering. Find out what credit score is needed to be able to fit in whatever programs that you may be eligible for. There are a lot of grant programs out there. I will mention one bank name that I know for a fact, depending on your state, has programming available and grant money. Most of the time, it's Associated Bank. But of course, you have to meet the guidelines. So keep in mind, just because you see a program out there does not mean that you'll automatically qualify for it, because you might not fit the guidelines. You may fall out of the guidelines. They have income guidelines. They have credit score requirements. And you may have had to have this or that to be able to fit into that program. And I need to go back to number 4, ReShell, just for a second, because there's something crucial that I needed to bring up about these higher offers, because you made me think about something, and everyone else needs to think about this too. When you offering too high on these properties, that property might not appraise. You got to think about that. Do you have the additional funds to pay if that appraisal does not come in at the value that it is supposed to come in at? There's a lot of people overbidding right now. People are coming down from California, and they're coming to all different states, and they're bidding $100,000 and $200,000 over the asking price. And that's why a lot of buyers are unable to compete. They're doing that in Georgia. They're doing it in Massachusetts. They're doing it all over the place. I want you to be careful about overbidding on these properties. You need to make sure that you're a real estate professional. If it's not me, now if it's me, you know I'm gonna do my job. I can't speak for everybody else. A lot of these real estate professionals are out there to try to make their commission, but they may not have enough education to be able to go and do what's called a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis, making sure that that property actually can be valued at the number that you're offering on that house. We cannot have you underwater. You cannot be in a situation where the appraisal comes in low and then you don't have the funds to cover that. So, and a lot of people they're actually waiving the appraisal contingencies because that's how rough this market is. But just because that's happening doesn't mean that you're supposed to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and you do the same thing, knowing that that's not something that you can afford to do.
Okay, so that's another one, is waiving everything just so, you know, your offer can go through, because it is a competitive market. So I think in the end, you know, if you waiving, you know, the appraisal, or I've heard of people even the inspection, not even wanting to get that done, just so, you know, they can, you know, we have our mindset on what we want. So, you know, why would you waive the inspection? Why that, you know, you want to know if something's wrong with the house. You know, you want to know, you know, if something's wrong, would the seller be willing to fix it before I purchase it? Or is that something that you're going to do on your own? You're going to take on that burden right away before you even move in the house. You done already took on that burden because you had your mind set on that house. So that was another one, was waiving everything just so that your offer can go through, because it is a competitive market.
So you have to be careful with that. One reason you need to be careful with that is because now here's what I've seen. I've seen more savvier buyers that might have a boyfriend or a cousin, a brother, a dad that may have contracting experience, general contracting experience, that can fix things for you if things go wrong. But everyone does not have that luxury. And you also don't need that to be a pitfall for you, for a home being a money pit, to have problems with this home that you didn't see from not getting an inspection done. So if you know you are limited on funds, that probably wouldn't be the best route. And the other thing is, they have inspections done on some of these properties already. Does that mean that because an inspection was already done, that you shouldn't get your own? Sometimes you can look at what was done, but that inspection wasn't for you. That person wasn't working for you, and you need to be cognizant of that. So you need to go get your own independent inspection, because that inspection may point out other issues and problems that that other inspector didn't even see. And then you can compare the two, and you can make a decision as to whether you want to move forward with that home or not, or if you want to negotiate. Listen, the home inspection is for a negotiation tool. It can be used in a number of different ways. That inspection can be used for you to reduce the purchase price, and it can also be used for you to have this seller to make repairs by you choosing the big ticket items on that report to have them take care of. Remember that every property is going to have a laundry list of things wrong. You cannot think that you're going to go buy a home and that nothing's going to be wrong. The inspector's job is to go in there to tell you everything that is a cause for concern. And it might be minor, but his job is still to write it up. You have to be savvy enough and you have to be understanding enough of what things on that report is going to be big ticket items for you to be able to make sure that you know the dollar amounts that it's going to cost for you if you take on that burden or if you're going to ask that seller to fix it.
Ooh, all right. MyLeah had a question. Hey, Shanera. Hey, Walter. And Lisa said, great evening. MyLeah had a question. She says, is it better to invest in a fixer-upper as a first-time home buyer?
That's a two-part answer. Like I said, most people, I will say no, only because if this is a home that you're trying to live in, there could be some pitfalls that you don't see, and you may not be ready for that, especially with some people needing to really just get right in, especially if they're leaving a rental situation and they need something to be more move-in ready. There are programs out there, though. I do want to let you know there's programs out there for first timers if they can qualify. Remember, you have to qualify. There's a program called FHA 203K. Write that down, ReShell. FHA 203K. And one of the reasons I know about all these programs is because I do have a mortgage background. I am qualified to speak on this. A lot of people talk about how real estate brokers and realtors and all of that shouldn't be dwelling over on that side and stay in your lane. I am in my lane because I had a mortgage company before, and this is why I can talk to you about this. That FHA 203K program can get you a fixer-upper home. You have to qualify for it. They have a little bit different criteria that they want you to meet, but you can buy a fixer-upper. Make sure that you have your hand on some good contractors. They have to be approved through that program. And yes, I'm not going to say that that might not be the best way to do things, but for people who are not savvy about doing renovations, it takes a lot longer. It can be a headache. I've seen it. So if you don't want any headaches or if you have a lot of time where you can wait to do that, then that's up to you. Me personally, my personal opinion, first time buyer, if you're not savvy, if you're not a contractor, if you don't know any contractors, this could be a potential pitfall for you for getting in on that side to do it. So I gave you some pros and cons why you should or shouldn't. You can end up with a lot of equity with a fixer-upper. You can end up with a brand spanking new home if you do the FHA 203K program. So I don't want to discount it and I don't want to discourage you. But if you know that you don't want to have a problem dealing with contractors and things taking longer than they should and contractors that might not be the right contractors, then you better get something that's a little bit more move-in ready. That's my story and I'm sticking with it.
All right. And so we're on number 6. And number 6 says, it talks about ignoring the VA, the USDA, and the FHA loan programs. It says a lot of the first-time home buyers want or need to make a small down payment, but they don't know the details of the government programs that makes it easy for them to buy a home with zero to little down.
Right. And again, it all goes back to research and empowerment. People, don't wait for anybody to tell you anything. Get out there, get on that internet and find these programs. There are 3 programs right in front of you, VA, USDA, and FHA. And I'll tell you the difference for all 3 of those. VA, that program is for veterans, for military personnel. They don't have a down payment. USDA is also another program that doesn't have a down payment. Does that mean that you don't have closing costs? That's not true. You still have upfront costs. You still have closing costs. A lot of sellers will look at your offer when it comes in and see that you have 100% financing, and they may not help you with the closing costs because of that reason. They are saying to themselves, oh, well, Jane Doe or John Doe is already getting 100% financing so they can pay their own closing costs. Then you might have a more reasonable seller that may say, hey, Jane Doe or John Doe, they're in the military. We thank you for your service. I'll pay some, if not all of the closing costs. And it is possible for someone to come to the table with no money down. But in this market, I'll say that's very highly unlikely. So you shouldn't think that you're going to come to the table without any money. So you should always save as much as you can. FHA is 3.5% down. You need to be looking into these programs and seeing what you can actually qualify for. With VA, it depends on the lender. There's a lot of people that think that, oh, well, you know, this loan officer told me I needed a 620 score to do VA. Well, other lenders will go all the way down to 580. Again, your questions should be, what is the lowest minimum credit score that you accept for your program? How can I qualify? USDA, they go down to a 580, but that does not mean that all lenders will go down to 580. A lot of them don't. So when you hear somebody say, no, that's not true, you need a 640 score. Well, no, that's not true. All you need is a 580. That may or may not be true depending on what the lender is. There's some lenders that go all the way down to 500, believe it or not. But best believe it was what ReShell spoke about earlier. Those interest rates and the down payments are going to be more if you go down to 580. I feel like everybody is capable enough to get to that 580 so they can put down 3.5%. But if you are just in a rush and you want to do the 500 or whatever credit score, best believe you're going to need 10 to 15% down and your interest rate is going to be through the roof. So you got to be careful with that. Try to at least have a middle score of 580. And I'll give you a couple of websites to go to that won't be a hard hit on your score. On your scores, you need to know all three. Stop going to Credit Karma, people. That's for credit monitoring. Don't go to Credit Karma thinking those are your scores. Let you know that. Hello, those are not your scores. And even if you go to these other little free sites, it's not free. They ask for $1 and then they have this trial period. Then they want $29.99. Whatever. It's not a hard pull against you. So ScoreSense, ScoreSense, www.scoresense.com. You got that, ReShell?
Yes.
ScoreSense, and then www.creditchecktotal.com. Creditchecktotal.com. www.creditchecktotal.com. That's another site. They merged actually with Experian, but they will give you all three scores, both sites. I'm signed up with ScoreSense. I just like to watch what's going on or whatever. And then the last site that I'm going to give you, one more, myfico.com. Now, out of all three sites I just gave you, MyFICO is the most expensive, but the caveat to this is MyFICO is the place that still won't give you a hard pull, but they actually give you the scores that the lenders will pull. Let me repeat that. They will give you the scores that your lender will pull. It's a mortgage credit report and mortgage credit scores that they will give you. Those other sites, they give you an idea, but those are really off of the Vantage scoring model. And there are hundreds of scoring models out there. And that's why people say, they get mad when, they go to Credit Karma and they say that they have a 707. And when the lender pull, it's a 507. Well, because it's not accurate. It's great for credit monitoring, showing you when things are opening up or seeing if you've been a victim of identity theft or seeing if you've had any lates and things like that. So please don't think Credit Karma are your scores or some of these little $1 sites. It's just a guide, but the lender or myfico.com, MyFICO, myfico.com, that's the website that will give you the most accurate information.
All right. You can't say that y'all are not getting no valuable information right here. Thank you so much, Brenda, for putting that in there. I appreciate it. Hey, Cadillac, glad you can join us. We're talking about home buyers' mistakes to avoid. And as always, Tamairo is delivering, y'all. So I know that y'all are listening because y'all are giving us feedback. So we appreciate that. We are on number 7. And number 7 is not knowing whether to pay discount points. Now, I didn't really understand it. This is the first time I ever heard this one.
What is a discount point anyway? Well, discount points are points that are paid. And first, let me go back. Let me back up. Let me roll it back. A discount point, let me tell you what a point is. A point is an amount that you pay to reduce the interest rate. Sometimes the lenders will do this for a client if their debt ratio is too high for a certain property, and maybe the loan amount is too much and the debt ratio is too high. So with that being said, the lender may say, okay, Jane Doe, I'm going to need you to pay a discount point so that it will lower your rate so that your debt ratio won't be too high for this program. And a point equals, you might as well say 1%, 10% of what that loan amount is. So let's just say that you have a $100,000 loan. 1 point is going to be $1,000. That discount point, you have to understand and know why you're doing it and if it's worth it. Maybe some people said, I don't want to go over 850. I don't want 851. I don't want 850 and 50 cents. I'll pay the discount point before I take 850.50 or 851. It has to make sense. You need to be empowered by asking your lender to explain the differences about why you would need to even have any discount points in the first place. Discount points can save you from being in a program that you might not have been eligible for. Sometimes the lenders will help with those costs. It's called a lender credit. Can you kick in a lender credit to give me a discount point, and you pay for it for me to bring my debt ratio down so I can have this house and make my payments low enough so that my debt ratio is not too high? That's what that's about.
Well, all right. I learned something new. Did not know that. So we're on number 8, which is one of the mistakes that you make when you are purchasing a home is emptying out your savings account.
Can't be house poor. You cannot be house poor. And with this process, these lenders, I'm going to be honest with you, they look at your finances. They look at your bank accounts. They look to see if you have any NSFs. No. You can't have any overdrafts. You got overdrafts? No. That's showing how unstable you are if you have NSFs in your bank account. Okay. That means that for some reason you're not handling your finances the right way. They look at all of that. That is that's a thorn in everybody's side when they see that it's going to have a hard time getting through underwriting if you have NSFs on your bank account. I don't care what the reason is. A lot of times they don't like to see any NSFs within the last, I'll say at least for the last 3 months. I usually tell my people a year. But taking your savings out, these lenders, I want to tell you what they do is, one of the reasons why they ask for the seller to help you pay for closing costs is because you have to have a certain amount of reserve cash after closing. And you might ask, why is that? Well, let's just say Jane Doe or John Doe loses a job. They want to make sure that you can cover 2 to 3 more months of payments if that were to happen. So that's why it's not going to look good if you're trying to empty your savings. Your deal may not, your transaction may not even go through if you empty your savings. And I don't know if this is one of your numbers on your list or not, ReShell, but this is a super duper no. It's trying to go and get a loan while you're in the middle of a process.
That's the next one.
Oh, Lord, getting ahead of myself. But anyway, do not empty your savings out trying to do this because you cannot be house poor. One of the other reasons why you don't do it is because what if something goes wrong with the house and then you need money to take care of some repairs or something? What if something happens to your vehicle and that money has to come out of your account for you to be able to take care of that. So we got to make sure that we have enough cushion and enough savings before you do this, because you do have upfront costs. Don't forget your earnest money, your inspection money, your appraisal money, your homeowner's insurance money. Those are all costs that you have upfront in addition to down payment and closing costs. Remember this, no seller is obligated to pay your closing costs. Again, they are not obligated to pay your closing costs. Those are your costs as a buyer. And the seller, if they don't want to, they don't have to pay for your costs. Is it customary and is it normal? It's normal, but in this market, it really has not been. A lot of these sellers have folded their arms. They're not making repairs to the property. They're also not helping as much with closing costs. So that's another reason why you need to be saving up as much money as you can when you get ready to do this. Is it worth it? Yes, because you can't build equity from being a renter. But you got to make sure that you're not house poor and when something happens and now you in foreclosure because you emptied out your savings.
Let me repeat that. You cannot build equity by being a renter. All right. Let's get that ingrained in our head. All right. So number 9 is, and you was hitting on this, applying for credit before the final sale.
Oh, Lord. I got a story for y'all. I'm sorry. But I just went through this with the borrower. And this loan had 9 lives, I tell you. First, it was dead. It came back alive. It was dead again. It came back alive again. It was dead again.
What?
These people were dead set on getting an $8,000 loan when they had been told otherwise to not do it. Keep in mind that not only do they pull your credit in the beginning of this transaction, but they also pull your credit at the end of the transaction. And the purpose and the meaning and the reason behind them pulling your credit, again, is to make sure that you didn't make any stupid moves, like going and trying to buy furniture and getting things on credit prior to you closing, because those things jack up your debt ratio and may knock you out of the program. You cannot go getting a loan or having your credit pulled and trying to get furniture for the house or trying to get anything for the house or trying to get somebody else to do something for you or co-signing for anybody. Having your credit ran in the middle of this process is really a bad idea, because guess what? They will come back and ask, what are you doing? They had to go back and ask, what were my clients doing? She had actually gotten the loan and we thought the deal was dead. The only thing that saved that deal is because she had not actually physically gotten the money yet. If she had gotten that money, then her deal would have never gone through. So there was some backpedaling that needed to be done with that company that they were getting the personal loan with to make sure that that loan would end up going through. And they had to pull the file out of underwriting, pull it back out, put it back until we got where it showed that they did not get that loan. They ask you, they have a little form that they ask you, what was this inquiry for? Did you get the loan? They will pull. They also do follow-ups on your employment. Don't think you're going to be able to quit a job and think you're going to be able to close on the house. If you're trying to quit your job, people, please don't do it in the middle of the process. Wait until after you buy the house. I wouldn't suggest it, but don't quit your job. That's no. Bad thing to do. You won't get your loan. I've seen people who have the rug has been pulled from under them right at the closing table. You cannot quit your job.
Do not quit your job. All right. We made it to number 10. I'm excited. So number 10 is shopping for a house before the mortgage. So you already out there looking at these houses, not even knowing what you approve for.
Boo-hoo. You shooting in the dark. You don't know if you can even get a loan yet. You know, you can't go to the store with no money. You can only window shop. So guess what? Look online. Don't start reaching out to these real estate professionals trying to go look at a house, because most of them are not going to move a muscle. Listen, we don't get paid to show houses. Okay? You understand that? We do not get paid to show houses. we get paid when we sell a house. You need to be ready. You don't even know what you can afford yet. So that's why the first step is pre-approval. So many people do it backwards, keep looking for a house, and then they get mad at the real estate professional. Let me tell you another reason. People also don't understand that a lot of real estate professionals do this for safety reasons and safety concerns. There are a number of people that are out there targeting real estate professionals to have them show homes to them, and they really have no intent on buying a home. And we have to be careful. I'm one of the fortunate ones that my husband comes to me for my showings. If I have any open houses, he's sitting outside, he's watching. But a lot of our real estate professionals don't have that same luxury. We have to be careful with who we are dealing with, and we need to actually know that you're a bona fide buyer. Okay, put yourself in the seller's position. Would you somebody walking through your house and you didn't know whether they could buy your house or not? What's the purpose? We don't want any loosey lookers or looky-loos. Do your due diligence ahead of time and make sure that your lender has pre-approved you for the amount. You don't know what it is until you do that step. This is a step-by-step process. Don't give your real estate professional a hard time dealing with you because you won't follow their directions. That's a no-no too. That real estate professional has been in this business. You don't know everything, okay? You have to listen to them and make sure that they're looking out for your best interest anyway by you trying to look at a house that you may not even be able to afford. You might not be able to get a loan. Lots of people look and they say, oh, well, I got a 700 score, and you pull and they only got a 434. Then what? You don't want to embarrass yourself. I've seen it in the past. When I first got started, I was just so hungry and just lively and ready to go. And people, showing out in front of their boyfriends and girlfriends. Well, my score is this and that. And got to the table to do something and took them to the lender later. They weren't ready. How embarrassing and humiliating is that? The other thing, this is the biggest thing. I want to go see the house first. No, the bank is looking at you first. What if you go to a house that you absolutely love and you say, hey, realtor lady, please write my offer? How is she going to write the offer without your pre-approval letter? By the time you go to a lender, by the time you wait for this lender to get your pre-approval letter together, now guess what? You come back and boom, the house is gone. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you not? Stay ready, be ready, get ready, stay ready. Never go out there without having your pre-approval letter to know what your buying power is, because that's what it's for, to let us know how high you can go. And just because a letter might say $250,000 does not mean that you have to use that whole $250,000. You have to look at all the rest of your bills that are not on your credit report, because that's really what the lenders are looking at. They're looking at what's on your credit report. Your finance is better than anybody else's. And if you can't go over $1,250 with everything included, taxes and PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and the PMI, that's all in one payment. If you can't go over that, don't be trying to shop higher than you can, because you could end up in foreclosure because of that. So it's never a good idea for you to be trying to look at houses without getting a pre-approval, without getting your mortgage set up first. There's a new program called the Fast Track program. Fast Track program is when the lender takes everything from you and puts you through underwriting. And now you have what's called a fast track approval. That means that you'll be able to close quicker than anybody. You could close in 30 days or less instead of the normal 45-day process. The only thing will be left to do is for you to hand in an appraisal and do your inspection. Those are the only things that would be needed. And once those things are done, you could close because the file has already gone through the underwriting process. So that's a very good tool. Every lender is not doing it. I know I work with some lenders that are doing it, but it's called the Fast Track program. And it actually could be the difference between you and another buyer and you beating them out because you have a fast track approval and they don't. So these are things that you need to keep in the back of your mind and be ready for, so that you can compete in this very, very competitive market out here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tamairo, for, again, your experience and your words of wisdom. I hope that you guys were taking notes. I will post the information as far as the website that you can go to for your credit report. I will leave you guys with these words of wisdom, and this is right from Tamairo's mouth. You cannot build equity by renting. So thank you so much. Join me next Monday at 6 p.m. right here on Intellectual Radio. As always, this is author and founder Lady ReShell with Warriors Talk, and we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on intellectualradio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.